were created by God in order to protect the earth. Okay? So they are of God, right? They may not like us because of what we've done to the earth, but they are of God, which is another reason you can't exorcise them. You can't get rid of them out of an area, right? Can't use religious faith and things like that to get rid of them. Doesn't work, okay? Because they are of God. God created them. And they're not evil. They're just pissed off because we don't take care of the earth the way we should.
Right.
So there is other ways to deal with them, and that's to give them offerings. And to at least the land that you're attached to, do things to make it more elemental friendly, let's say. Offerings you can give them. You put out a plate of fruit, honey, anything natural. Actually, even beer. Believe it or not, they like beer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah. But you think about beer and what it's made out of? It's all elements, right?
Yeah.
So, it's probably makes them kind of happy.
Yeah,
but you can put out that plate like once a month and let them know it's for them. You can plant flowers. You can plant maybe a small tree, things like that in your yard to make them know that you care. You do care about the earth.
Right.
And that will usually bring the activity way down.
So it
kind of leave you alone.
It pretty much appeases them to make the peace, so to speak.
Yes. It lets them know that you're, okay with them being there. As far as that elemental at that particular place, it was Taft Public Library. It was right next door. And most of the time, everybody got annoyed by this thing, except one woman. It seemed to leave her little gifts and stuff. Like she'd find things where she needed them, right? Or just when she needed something, she'd find it. But what she did is she took care of and planted all the flowers and all the shrubs all around the library. She loved gardening. She owns a ranch, so to speak, or a farm, I should say, out there in Mendon somewhere. And she has animals and all that. So I think it knew that about her and connected to her and was more positive towards her. Everybody else, it kind of just bothered. But when I ran into it, was in the upstairs section of the city hall, and I literally could. There's a stairway goes up, then you go into the door into the main hall of the where they would have their meetings and stuff. I could not step through that door at first. It was so heavy and so, I don't know how else to describe it, so pushing back. I literally could not step through the door.
Wow.
And one of my other investigators was with me, Sarah. She came up the stairway last behind me. So I just kind of stepped aside and I motioned to her, like with my arm, hey, go ahead, go right through. She looks at me and goes, yeah, what's wrong?
No.
I didn't say anything. Just go ahead. No,
yeah,
what's
ahead.
Wrong? I mean, she's like, what's wrong? I said, nothing. Please, nothing. Go ahead. Well, she goes. She didn't see me do this because she was like down the bottom of the stairs when I went to walk through. And but then she goes to do the same thing and stops dead. And she goes, "Whoa, what's with this?" I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You know what?" She goes, "That energy coming out of there. What the hell's with that energy?" I'm like, "I don't." I said, "You're right." I said, "I don't know. I just wanted you to go to see what your reaction was going to be." And she goes, "This is really like real heavy, really like negative or something." I said, "Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it?" So I said, "Okay, I'll go first." And I stepped in, and the minute I stepped through that doorway, all I heard was this horrendous and insane screaming, a woman screaming. In my head, I could hear it, right?
Oh, my God.
Not out loud, but in my head, I could hear it. I'm like, what the hell? And she steps in and goes, what did you just do? It's like, she's getting a bad headache in the back of her head, which to her, that's some type of spirit communication.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't do anything except step in the door. You saw me. I said, but I can hear it. And I told her what was going on. So I took 2 more steps, and then on the floor, I could see this thing in front of me. Looked like a woman, emaciated. Think of a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, my.
Woman, emaciated, totally emaciated.
Right.
But she was wearing this like long white summer dress, but it had this little tiny floral pattern all over it. But she's on the floor, on all fours, like screaming, Had no eyes, just dark sockets where the eyes should be. Long, black, scraggly, greasy-looking hair. And the mouth was open wider than somebody's mouth could, right? Just screaming. And I'm like, the thing was, I wasn't afraid of it. I was just looking at it going, what the heck are you?
What is that?
And I'm going, why are you screaming like that? You know, like, well, first I'm thinking, was she a mental patient? Was she, you know, as I took a step forward, so I took a step towards it, kind of reached out. And again, you can see this in your head, right? You're not physically seeing it there.
Yeah.
But you see it in your mind, and it's like, I walked it towards it and it stepped backwards. I took another step, kept going backwards, screaming. So we kept going with this, me and Sarah. She finally could hear the screaming, she's told me, but she goes, I can't see it. So she just followed me. We walked it all the way back to the back of the building where there's this little hallway and some offices. And it was all pitch black back there. And it went all the way down the hallway, back hallway to where there's an elevator, right? And I just stopped at the end of the hallway we were at, and I said, look, I'm not coming near you. I don't know what you are. I don't know what you're here for. I'm going to leave you alone. I said, I'm not here to chase you. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just going to leave you alone. Right? And we did. We walked away from it. And I said, I almost feel bad for the thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's there. It seems terrified, you know, because it got to a point it was cowering in the back corner, just whimpering.
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, what the hell? So that was when, now I believe that was an elemental spirit.
Hey, let me ask you this. Did you get any EVPs from that, from the elemental?
We weren't even running stuff at the time. And at that moment I wasn't. We did get some EVPs later on from something that was kind of like growling at us at times and things like that on that same floor. So, I mean, I do think that's what we ran into. That's what it was. It wasn't happy that we were there.
Right.
But, so we did get some of that later on. I also got a woman's voice at one point, which could have been it. I mean, because they can make themselves sound like anything else they want.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of activity on that whole case. We had 3 different buildings we investigated. Taft Public Library itself was pretty wild. That was pretty wild activity in there. I had a lot of activity in there, which I still believe was the elemental in some cases. And somebody else for a couple other things. But, yeah, it was a crazy case, and it was the first one. But it was after that that I spoke to the priest, who was a friend of mine. And that's when he said, he told me he thought it was a demon. Now, I don't think it was a demon. I truly believe it was an elemental spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when he said, the reason it kept backing away is afraid of it. He goes, because of the bright light that you give off, it was terrified of it. And just kept backing away. And that's where I, got that information from. So I'm like,
right.
Whatever.
Well, let me ask you this.
But it's the way it is. I sometimes I believe it, and sometimes I have a hard time believing it, even myself, right? I mean, I don't take everything for granted, you know?
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Have you and your team ever been chased out of a place by something?
No. Well, not completely. No, I've been chased out of an area in the building where, in a way, chased out because I pulled my investigator out of there. And that was another demonic case. I pulled myself out of a location.
Right.
Or the same building. That was in Minden. That was in I forget the town now. It was in Massachusetts. So, and a woman was having all these problems in this house and stuff like that. It turned out to be something demonic there. But I went to go in. We were just doing a quick tour of the house, and I walk into her bedroom, and everybody else is behind me. But I get this sharp, like somebody has shoved a ice pick through my temple. You know, real bad, sharp pain. I'm like, what the hell? And it lasted for a second and went away, or a couple seconds, went away. And then after that, I started feeling a lot of anxiety, and I started getting angry. And what I thought is, and I asked the guy, I said, did you and your son, or you and somebody else just recently have an argument in this room? It's like, no, nobody argued in here. I'm like, just keep picking up this anger. And all of a sudden, I started getting angry. They're all just talking amongst themselves. I started getting angry at them for no reason.
Oh,
and it suddenly dawned on me, it's like, oh shit, I know what's going on. And it felt like something was like right next to me, like talking to me or something. So I'm like, I got to step out of the room. I just turned around. I walked out of the room and walked into the living room. I felt completely fine. I walked across the hallway into the living room, felt completely fine. That was very strange because that living room almost seemed like a pocket of positive energy. Like anytime you felt a little odd, you could walk in that room, everything was perfect. Everything's back to normal. So it was kind of strange why that living room was, whether somebody had put up protection in that room at one time or another, I don't know. The house is very old. It's actually a historical site that the guy rents out or rents as 2 different apartments, but it's actually a historical building. Had been owned by a Mason at one time, a Freemason.
So there's a lot of history.
Actually a Freemason. Yeah, a lot of history in that building. Yeah, and so it's pretty crazy. So I don't know if he had set up maybe protection in that one part of the house at one time or what, but it seemed like a bubble there. And so I had that where I had to leave the room, and then that same investigation down the basement, and Sarah, one of my investigators, started feeling a lot of like fear, anxiety, and I said, I don't think it's yours because there's no reason for you to be afraid. And then she started feeling like, burning on the back of her neck, and she was getting scratched. So I grabbed her, and we pulled her out of the basement, and she was fine once we got her out of the basement. So I've had things like that, but nothing where I never went back in. No,
right.
Nothing where I would have finished the case. No.
Yeah,
no. Not yet. Anyway, knock on wood.
Yeah, really. I mean, those are enough,
words.
Yeah, those are enough to get your attention as it is. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So we've had some crazy stuff, but but we stick to it, and that's what we're there for. If I run, then one help of mine. Right?
Yeah,
that's the way we look at it.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, it doesn't leave a good impression on the clients if they're seeing your backside going up the street and they're like scratching their head, like, hello.
I always tell them, I say, if you see me run, you may want to be right behind me.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I'm running, I got a reason I'm running. So you may want to be right behind me. Just forget your crap. Leave it there. Let's get the hell out.
Yeah. If the investigators
I need to call somebody else because I got some other people. I got some friends who are much more versed and much more powerful at getting rid of these things than it's not even us that do it, right? It's the grace of God, through us that gets rid of these things.
Right.
We don't do anything. We're just a vessel, right? I mean, we don't.
That's it.
God does it. So, So I always, and I get it. I mean, even I say it sometimes. Oh yeah, I got rid of this demon. I didn't do shit, man. Pardon my French. I didn't do anything, right? I didn't do a darn thing. I didn't do anything. Somebody, higher power did it. But there's guys who go, oh yeah, I got rid of this demon, I got rid of that demon. It's like,
yeah. Guess what happens when their ego gets too big?
Watch the ego, because it ain't you doing it. It's not you doing it.
Let me ask you this question, Jack. Have you ever had something follow you home and give you some visits?
Yes, yeah, by accident. Because usually I'll clear myself before I do. It wasn't anything negative, though, really. It was that also happened at the Mendon case, where I got into a car accident on the way home. I just struck something I struck something in the middle of the highway. I was just moving over to get off my exit, off of I-90. And there, it happened too quick. I couldn't swerve back around it or anything. I moved over, and there it was. It was it was about 6 feet long, 2.5 feet wide. It was part of a bumper off a semi-truck.
Oh, my God.
The way it was laying, the silver side was down, and on the back side of it was like that black,
you
whatever
couldn't
they put
see
on to keep it from rusting. So I didn't see it until I was right on top of it, and it was like, oh, shit. I'm like, I hope it's low enough, because I drive a Dodge Charger. I'm like, I hope it's low enough I can go, boom, not going over it. Shit. It took out my front end. So the curved part took out my front end. And it was quick. So I was doing probably 70 miles an hour when I hit the thing.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that spirit had something to do with that? Or it was
yes, I do. I know for a fact it did. I know it wasn't meant to be negative. But that night when I left there, we all ended up in a hurry because we had trouble locking one of the doors. And I had to go get some WD-40 and fix the lock for the guy. And and get that worked. And it took about an hour or so to do that.